Morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 52 in Deuteronomy. Does God care what I wear? So we're in this section called Various Laws. That's what it's titled in my Bible. That is various parts of our earthly lives that God highlights. Newsflash, they're not just earthly. So put some attention towards them. So yesterday was actually about a lost ox and what to do about a lost ox. Now, as you may remember, our first inclination is to ignore the ox, even though you were going to be tempted to do that. I don't see that random ox standing in my driveway. The temptation is there because caring for an ox, much more than caring for a family member's dog or something, it's a major imposition. And you and I both know that an ox is an inconvenient bedfellow. They're big, they're thirsty, they're hungry, they're smelly, they're poopy, they're dangerous. So love, in doing the right thing and maintaining the brotherhood, which is what it's about, is also inconvenient and intrusive. So love is inconvenient, love is intrusive, and you're going to be tempted to ignore it. So this various laws section, yesterday, it really wasn't about an ox. It was about love. And what is love like? Well, it's probably going to involve some sort of an ox, and the idea was run to the ox. Now, similarly here today, we have an intrusive command, and it's about a cloak, a coat. And we're going to see here that it's about more than just a cloak. It's about imaging, bearing the image of God himself. So it's going to be a command, which is he's going to tell you to do something and to not do something. And like the ox, we're going to be maybe first of all tempted to ignore it. And then maybe second of all, consider it of little consequence. It's no big deal. So listen in, see what you think. This is from Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 5. A woman shall not wear a man's garment, nor shall a man put on a woman's cloak. For whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord your God. Let me say it again. A woman shall not wear a man's garment, nor shall a man put on a woman's cloak. For whoever does these things is an abomination to the Lord your God. So you may ask, hey, where does this come from? Well, first of all, it's coming from the mouth of God. He is speaking here. He's author, he's creator. He cares about this topic. That's why I put it in the Bible, as it is his design. So yes, the world is a fallen place. And it's been fallen since the garden in Genesis chapter 3. And gender identity, certainly, like all other areas of life, can be tainted by the effects of the fall. And one might even be surprised if it wasn't affected by the fall. So God has a created order. And our job then is not to ask God, say, hey, God, move to our fallen position. But our job here is to say, Lord, help us move away from our fallen position, and let's do that now in our hearts. So fortunately, this passage, nor does any other place in the Bible, equivocate here about his feelings about genders that he has made. God loves maleness. God loves femaleness. And both, in a specific way, reflect his character as creator. And I think he desires for you to thrive in your maleness and thrive in your femaleness. And I think he'd grieve any brokenness that there may be in the desire about anything gender that doesn't match his desire. So to find those desires, we can look to his thoughts as accurately recorded here and his design. So what are God's desires for gender? Let's turn to Genesis chapter 1, verse 27. Why? Because his desires are displayed in his created design. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. So he tells us here in Deuteronomy that blurring those lines of distinction, lines that are critical, integral to his design, are an offense to him. And he even calls it an abomination. So he doesn't like it, and he doesn't like it a lot. This is not a little preference of God. It's detestable, it's offensive, and even idolatrous. He speaks about it with the most extreme language possible. Idolatry means putting something ahead of God in priority. So this isn't mild like, hey, this is just unfortunate or it's strongly felt, most strongly. Why is it so detestable to God? Why so detestable? Well, because it usurps the fundamental charge, which is we are supposed to image bear God to the world. So our job, again, is not to sit here and say to God, hey, God, tone it down a little bit, will you? Our job is other than that. It's to seek understanding that we have this privilege as image bearers in our maleness and image bearers in our femaleness. So our charge to image bear issues from his command to our hearts. So it comes from God to our hearts and our minds. And then outwards in our display, which even includes our actual clothing. So I think a good place to end up with this passage is in reverence, particularly in our view of image bearing. So yes, I know that image bearing can be fallen, and I know that fallen things can be redeemed. So I desire, and I think God's desire would be that you would thrive in your image bearing. Your maleness or your femaleness are inseparable from that image bearing. In maleness and femaleness, as far as we know, it's going to last for this life, and it's going to last into eternity in the next life. It's never going to end. You're never going to stop being male or female. So to confuse this with clothing or to confuse it with behavior disorders something that is supposed to be ordered. So today, carry your maleness or your femaleness proudly and proudly and clearly, for by doing so, you reverentially are carrying the very image of God. Thanks for listening.